Okay, guys, I wanted to highlight some calls from the chat room today because I think they're pretty instructive. And so I'll go over them one at a time here. TSO, the reason I had this on watch was simply because of the volume. My voice is cracking. The volume yesterday and a little bit of a bottoming tail. Other refiners were fairly strong. So that lands it on my watch list based on that action. And then on an intraday basis, how I called it here, it really didn't have any kind of pattern. And all of a sudden here it pushes up, gets through the high of the day, and at this point we're entering the lunchtime period, so I didn't do anything with it. But what became interesting here was now right there when it breaks through the high of the day. So now if you let me get some lines going here, what we've got is yesterday's high. Remember that daily candle I showed you? You had that kind of bottoming tail, big volume yesterday. So there is yesterday's high. Over that we might get a pretty nice move, right? So now we've got the opening high. Took that out in the late morning, but there was no kind of clean setup for me, okay? So I just didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, once it breaks that high, we're very close to breaking yesterday's high. So this made it interesting to me. And when it looked like this, I jumped on the microphone and chat and said, okay, now I'm going to watch for a pullback to that recent high right around 47. Okay, so I'm looking for this to pull back to 47, retest the high of day, and then take off and break yesterday's high. Well, right here it starts to turn. This is probably what it looked like when I said that. Plus you have this blue line, which is the 8-period moving average. So a retest of the earlier high of day at 47 is also a test or a pullback to the 8-period moving average 5-minute candles. So everything was setting up, and what I did here was switch to 2-minute candles. Now that I know the setup and I know I'm looking for an entry around 47, I switched to 2-minute candles to find an entry for the room. And here's exactly what it looked like. There's that lunchtime break, and then here's that. Hold on, I'm in the wrong spot. Let's try that one more time. There's the early high of day. There's that like late morning break, little cup and handle, and here is finally right about here is the high of day break, and now this is the 2's pullback. There's 47 that I was talking about. There's the pullback to 47, and I went ahead and said I'm going to call this, or I'm going to take this on a 2's trigger, which means, and then you got this nice narrow 2. So right at that retest of 47, very clean 2-minute candle setup, nice green candle here, called it long over this candle, 47.04, 46.95. That's 9 cents risk, and I'm telling you, if you trade it all, TSO getting in with 9 cents risk is great. And look at that. That was it. Let me switch to 5-minute candles now. All right, so right about there was our entry on the pullback to the high of day, the 8-period moving average, and a beautiful move. That thing from 47.04, 9 cents risk, went to 48.60. Really, really nice one there. I also called Abercrombie and Fitch ANF. Because it was getting shape, we call this, a capitulation, or we actually call this a PFPD, potential final push down. And I called this long down here, 46.65, and the stop at the low of the day. And that was the low of the day. It ended up getting up to 47.48 for a nice little pop. And we did catch the low of the day on that one. Diamond Foods, this was a blunder of mine, actually. This was a good call, and because I took it bigger than I should have, I ended up getting a small loss on this when everything I said about it was right, but I took it too big. So I called it basically over this little trend line, over 22.60, I think, 22.62. And so it triggered right there, and then right after it triggered, I realized, man, this is right at the beginning of the lunchtime period, and Diamond Foods generally is a thinner stock. And so I kind of felt foolish, and I just went ahead and killed the trade. Took couple pennies loss per share, but my stop was down here in the 22.40 area, and it never even came close to the stop, and then ends up going nicely through the high of the day. So anyone with proper position size got a 22.62 fill, and it went to 70. It went up 76 cents from there to 23.38. So I just bunged that one, but didn't really matter. Had a nice day, and then also SCTY. Simply called on a high of day break here. Other solars were strong. I like this one over 34.50, and right when it triggered, we got a quick move over 35, and we got a secondary move here to sell too. So SCTY was also very nice. And I've got a couple other things that I didn't call, but they're great, in my opinion, trading lessons. INCY, strongest stock on the planet today. Okay, literally the strongest stock on the planet. And there's nothing that compelling here, other than it's starting to grind down at the same time the SPY was getting into a panic sell-off because of the FOMC minutes. Okay, you've seen me talk about green lines before. This green line right here on a 5-minute candle basis is the 24-period exponential moving average, which simply equates to the 8-period moving average on 15s. Okay, so I can look at this 5-minute chart and know right where the 8 is on the 15s chart. And so while the market was getting hammered, a great thing to do, and I did have this on a chart for everybody in chat, but I had it after it had already triggered, so I don't want to give the perception here that I called this ahead of time and everyone could have banked on it. I got it up on the chart a little bit late and never got the trade myself. But the lesson here is when you do have a knee-jerk panic sell-off in the market, a good thing to do is to go to the strongest stock you can find from that day, an INCY, great example, and then see if you can get a clean pullback. So it's coming back down to that green line, right? And actually what I did was switch to 2s there. Because of the gap, it's kind of stretched or all compacted together, so I have to. But see, even on 2s, I have the green line there so you can see it. So you know it's near the 8-period moving average on 15s. Look at this 2-minute candle turn right here. Look at that narrow candle. Remember, the market is kind of in a panic, and this is the strongest stock on the planet, coming down to what we call the 15-8, 15-minute candle, 8-period moving average. And look at when you go to like a small time frame like 2s as sort of an X-ray technique to look inside that 15-minute candle setup. Look at this turn right here. That was it. That was the low. Could have had that, and again, it had already triggered by the time I got it on, so I'm not trying to say I called it or traded it. 35.36 with a 35.29 stop, and that was the low of the pullback. And the same exact thing happened with NPSP. Keep in mind, both of these extremely strong before the FOMC, right? And now it's coming down. See that green line there? Look at it. That's about where it's going to turn. Okay, it pierced it. 23.91. Now let me switch 2-minute candles and show you this one. Same exact deal. Super strong stock. There's that green line, 2-minute candles, and look at that narrow candle, and that was the low on that one. Look at that. Didn't catch this one either. Not trying to create the perception that I did. I just want to say, man, grab those really strong stocks and start looking for pullbacks to those important moving averages. These green lines that I use all the time in our chat room. That's a great way to look for a low-risk entry on a trade when the market goes into a knee-jerk sell-off just on some FOMC-related deal or whatever. So hopefully some of that helps. I'm going to quit babbling, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.